All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Abby Cohen. I'm the manager of partner engagement, and I am looking forward to sharing information about using DCPS space over the summer. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I will try to answer them as we go. Otherwise, we will definitely save time at the end to answer any questions you might have about what this process looks like. Okay, so a couple key dates to keep in mind. May 2nd is the deadline for submitting a building use agreement application to DGS, which is the Department of General Services. They are a separate agency that processes building use agreements. And so they manage the actual processing of the agreement. They are who you will submit your paperwork to. And so your application will need to be submitted to them with a principal's signature by May 2nd. And then any summer programming that is run out of a DCPS building will need to operate between June 30th and August 1st, and schools will be closed on July 4th. So the first step in using a DCPS building over the summer is to identify a school space. If you're not sure where to begin, we are sharing a couple resources here. I will share the deck and the recording, and this is also available on the DCPS website. So don't worry if you don't get everything down right now. So we have DCPS school profiles where you can review all DCPS schools, the facilities they have, their location, information about their leadership team, and then we are also linking to our webpage that lists the this year's summer school sites and then any DCPS buildings that are offline for the summer and not available to be used. Our tip to reduce your costs is to the extent possible, try to co-locate in a building that is being used for DCPS-led summer programming because security will already be on site to cover that programming. So where possible, co-locating with a DCPS summer school location is a good way to reduce your costs. Again, all of this is available online, but this is our current list of 2025 summer school sites from elementary schools all the way up to high schools. What programming looks like at each of these schools is going to be a little bit different, particularly in the secondary space. But again, this is a good place to start if you're thinking about where you might want to operate this summer. Importantly, this is a list of our offline schools. So these are schools that are having work done over the summer and for a variety of reasons are not available to be used. A couple schools you will see have a name in parentheses. That is the space where the school is swinging to. So their typical school building is under renovation and they are operating in a different space. So for example, J.O. Wilson is currently swinging to the Spin Garden trailers. So that's, and no summer programming can happen in a swing space. So once you've identified your school site, your second step is going to be to get their school year principal approval. So you would reach out to the school principal, complete the application to use facilities that we have linked here. It's basic information about your operations for the summer, that, things like days of the week, time, scope of programming, what rooms in the building you're hoping to use. And then you will give that to the principal and they will sign it. Very important that the principal signs it. If you send it to DGS without the signature, they will return it to you. So make sure that you are getting that signature from the principal before you submit it. And remember, these applications have to be submitted to DGS by May 2nd. They are processing an unbelievable volume of applications for the summer and need that lead time. It is a different lead time than during the school year, which is typically 20 business days. So we do ask for you to be sure that it's in by May 2nd because we don't have flexibility after that. And again, summer programming must operate between June 30th and August 1st, and buildings are closed for the July 4th holiday. So step 3 is to submit that signed form to the Department of General Services. It's the Realty Office whose email is listed here, again, by May 2nd. Something that's new this year, when you submit your application to the DGS Realty Office, we are asking that you copy the dcps.bua inbox so that we can monitor submissions and just track be able to track the requests that are coming in for DCPS space. So you would still send the application to the DGS Realty office. You're just including that BUA inbox in the CC line. And then as part of their process, DGS may request a copy of your certificate of insurance, referred to as a COI, with the DC government listed as the certificate holder. And they will also assign some combination of potentially rental, custodial overtime, and or security fees. So just something to be prepared for if you are new to this process. A quick spotlight on security fees. So for elementary summer school sites, security is covered if you're going to be in the building co-located in an elementary school summer site if you operate between 8:30 and 4 p.m. So if you go to the list of DCPS summer school sites, you'll see all the elementary schools that have been identified as a summer site. If you co-locate in those sites, not in partnership with the summer school, but just operating in the same building, you would have security covered as so long as you operate between 8:30 and 4 p.m. Any operations outside of those hours, you will be responsible for covering the cost of security. For middle school and high school summer school sites, it's a little bit different this year. Secondary programming is going to run Monday through Thursday. So if you co-locate in a secondary building that's hosting DCPS summer school, you would have security covered Monday through Thursday. And you would then be responsible for security on Friday if you operate on Fridays. Some schools, middle schools, education campuses, and high schools will only be offering half-day programming. So then in that case, security would only be covered for the half day because that's when DCPS programming is operating. So all of that information is listed on the DCPS website in terms of which sites are offering which types of programming. But if you have questions, you can of course reach out to the school or you can reach out to our team and we can help guide you because it is a little bit choose your own adventure on that secondary side. But just want to make sure everybody understands the change for this year, the big change for this year, which is that the secondary summer programming DCPS run will only operate Monday through Thursday. And so if you are in a co-located space and you want to operate on a Friday, you would be responsible for security for that fifth day. The last step is to determine food services needs. So this is also a slight change from years past. Historically, you've had to opt into this service. This year, you are automatically opted in if you're operating and you have an opt-out option. So any community-based organizations or partners that do not wish to have meals provided at the site where they're operating should contact the Food Nutrition Services team at food.dcps@k12.dc.gov, again, by May 2nd. That's a big date for us. Otherwise, all summer sites that have programming going on will receive meals that are free, student meals for free of charge. Breakfast is served from 8 to 10 a.m. and lunch is served from 11 to 1. How those meals are served, whether it's, in the cafeteria or otherwise, depends on sort of the programming that's going on in the building. So you'll get more information from the FNS team. But this year they have shifted to an opt-out model. So you only need to reach out to them if you are operating in a DCPS building and do not wish to have free summer meals. And that's it. That's the short and sweet process for using a DCPS building this summer. We have a couple resources here. Again, links to the website where the full details of all these steps are listed, our list of summer school sites and offline schools, the application for a building use agreement, and then the partnerships website. I saw a couple questions in the chat, but I've also listed our inbox here. So as always, if you have questions, you can reach out to us. Okay, just taking a look. I saw Katie answered this in the chat, but a question around companies that offer insurance. We are not able to recommend insurance companies, unfortunately, but once you are able to secure that insurance, that's where you would, the insurance provider would provide the certificate of insurance. A question around the change to Monday through Thursday programming. That's a great question. And I can connect with the secondary school team to learn a little bit more about why they have shifted. Fatima, if you wouldn't mind putting your email in the chat, I'd be happy to follow up with you directly. A question on clarifying costs. So the cost depends, the cost to use a space, the cost depends a little bit on, it varies site to site, depending on whether or not that site is a DCPS summer school site, depending on whether or not you're a DCPS partner. Sometimes we have outside entities that are just renting space in our building, and so they would be charged rent for the space that they're using. For DCPS partners who have valid partnership agreements with the district, they would likely not be charged rent. So, and then security and custodial is again, fees are again dependent on the building you're in and whether or not there's DCPS sponsored programming in the building, in which case those services are provided. So I think the thing to know is that if you are looking to minimize your costs, prioritizing a DCPS summer school site is the best way to do that. So you can see this list, right? So on the elementary school side, I think it's covered 8:30 to 4 o'clock, and then on the middle school, high school, and education campus side of things, it's covered Monday through Thursday for whatever portion of the day the DCPS programming is happening in the building. On the summer meals, yes, the food nutrition services team. The question is, even if we are not a summer school site, we are still automatically included in the meals. Yes, that is my understanding, that anywhere that the program, any building in DCPS where programming is operating, you are automatically included in the meal count. This is why it's especially important to make sure your building use agreement is submitted on time and processed accordingly, because that is our primary mechanism for knowing who's in our buildings and who's operating where. So if we don't have a record of your program, it could result in the food nutrition services team not knowing that the program is operating and not having the appropriate number of meals. So so that building use agreement is really, really important for tracking purposes, so that we understand where our programs are operating and who needs support when it comes to things like the free meals. The PowerPoint will be made available. I'm also recording the session today. So as soon as we are done, we will upload it to our website along with the PowerPoint, and I will follow up. We'll have a follow-up email sharing all the links. A question around the cost of security. I wonder if my colleague Pamela Floyd is still on the call. Pamela,
yes, I'm here.
Here, would you be able to speak to the sort of average hourly cost? I know it depends on the type of guard in some cases.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Pamela Floyd, and I actually handle all of your cost proposals that'll be sent out to you, whether you have a charge or not. Everything goes through
looks like she might be having some technical difficulties. My understanding is that it's roughly around $50 an hour. Again, oh, I see. Yeah, there's Pam. You could also answer in the chat if your audio is not working.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you, Pam.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you thumbs up me? Am I right at about $50 an hour?
Oh, it just depends on if it's an SPO versus a SPO, a SO versus a SPO. If the majority of everybody can hear me, I'll just keep going. So
maybe you could put the answer in the chat. That would be
helpful. Hear you, Pam. I think something's going on with
we can also follow up
audio
with the folks who asked that question.
I can hear you.
Oh, it's my sound that's not working. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, Pam, keep going. Sorry.
Okay. So it just depends on how many officers you will have. There's an hourly rate for an SO and an hourly rate for an SPO. For elementary, the minimum is 1 officer, but if you use in a secondary school, the minimum is 2. So just be aware of that as well when you're picking your school locations. And it also just depends on how many hours you're operating. And if you're operating less than 4 hours, you will still have that minimum requirement of 4-hour charge, because that's the contract agreement that we have with our SAM contract. So it just varies on the time, how many officers, what type of officers, and so forth. But y'all can definitely email me, and I'll put my email in the chat as well if you have any further questions about the cost.
Hello. Hello?
We can hear you.
I
We
think
can hear
Abby's
you.
having some sound issues, so I'm gonna try to help her with that.
Gosh, I'm sorry, you
I
guys.
have a question.
Technology is just not my friend today. Mr. Bond, I see you had a question. I am having issues with my audio, so if you wouldn't mind putting questions in the chat, I think that's probably the easiest way to do this. And now that I'm not muted anymore, just looking back through the questions around estimated processing time. So if you are able to submit your BUA application early, I would anticipate that you're probably on a typical processing timeline. Obviously, the closer we get to that May 2nd deadline and then May through June, I think sometimes it can take a little bit longer, but certainly I think the earlier you can submit it, the better. Let me request to see the offline sites. Oh, yeah. My colleague Katie's coming in so that I can hear what's going on. We had a question about offline or the deck being shared, and just want to reiterate that yes, we will share the recording and the deck probably by the end of this week, and it'll be uploaded onto the DCPS Partnerships website. A question around middle and high school timing. Yes, I think if you have a specific school that you know you want to work in, a middle school or high school that is, it's been identified as a summer school site, feel free to email us on the partnerships inbox, and I can get back to you around what are the hours of the programming so that you know how to align for security coverage and things like that. Question around if you have programming if we have a summer program at DCPS, what do you get? So if you are operating in a DCPS building to run your program, you would make the space request in that application for facilities use that the principal signs. So that's your opportunity to say, I need 4 classrooms. I want access to the gymnasium and the cafeteria, and here are the hours that are operating. And then that's really sort of conversation between you and the school principal on space usage. The only thing that's sort of provided by DCPS would be those free meals. Otherwise, it's, you're getting access to the space to operate your programs. A question around Friday programming at our secondary sites. There is no DCPS run secondary summer programming on Fridays. So if you do want to operate in Friday, even if you're in a co-located building, you would be responsible for security costs that Friday. Question just generally about summer school schedules. So it varies depending on whether or not you're in an elementary school, a middle school, or a high school. So I'm just moving back to the for elementary school sites, it's Monday through Friday, and the hours you want to target are 8:30 to 4. That's when security will be provided to cover DCPS run programming, and then it will vary at the secondary school sites. What is consistent across secondary schools is this Monday through Thursday schedule, but whether or not a school has half day or full day programming is site dependent and something our team can help confirm for you. Move in, move out would have to happen within those June 30th to August 1st dates. It's, I think, fairly unlikely that you would get early access to the space or access past the August 1st deadline, because we need time for our custodial teams to come in and flip the buildings. We're not another question about insurance parameters and limits. We do not plan to host a meeting on insurance for building use agreements. That negotiation happens between the Department of General Services and the Department of DC Office of Risk Management and the partner organization. So that's sort of a conversation you would have with them. William Johnson, I see you have your hand raised, and now I have audio, so you're welcome to just come off mute.
Oh, no, that was raised earlier to see if you could hear us.
Oh, thank you. My tech support. I appreciate it.
But did you say that offline times are definitely not available?
The offline school sites?
For offline school sites not available?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to add one more thing.
Sure.
Just be mindful of cancellations as well. So say, for instance, on a Friday, if you schedule to have your services on a Friday at a secondary school, but you decide not to have it that day, you don't give proper notice, you still would be charged. So please give DGS proper notice if you're not planning to host your sessions on a particular day, or you just cancel it altogether, because you don't want to be charged for not giving proper notification to DGS. So I just want to make that very clear as well, if you're being charged.
A question around if you're a DCPS partner and you have permission from the school for school facility use from the principal, is it correct that the space is free? You should not be charged a rental fee, but depending again on the school and the schedule of programming, you may be assessed security and custodial fees. Heavenly Anderson, I see your hand is up. You're welcome to come off mute.
Hello, thank you. I just have a question about security and custodial services. So let's say my program wants to provide services on a Friday. Just to be clear, we can't use like our employees to serve as security, correct? Or like to clean up, like we need to like go through the proper routes and have okay.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, thanks for asking that, but yeah. In terms of identifying a school, we do share a link to the DCPS school profiles, which gives you an overview for each school if you're interested in being in a particular ward or grade band. Otherwise, I don't have a list of schools that sort of proactively raise their hand for space usage. So it is really at the discretion of the principal and up to the organization to reach out directly to them. Is there a different process for the school year? No, it's mostly the same, except that the timeline for submitting the building use agreement, the application for facility use to DGS is just 20 business days before you start programming. I don't want to confuse folks, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but it's conceptually the same, where you need to, work with the school to get their permission, have the principal sign the form, submit it to DGS, and go through their insurance check. Though those are all the same steps. Well, this is an interesting question. What types of programs or activities would you say would be a good fit in a DCPS space, and which ones might not work? I think, again, not to be a broken record, I think it's going to depend on what school you're operating in. Some schools have, if you're an athletics program and you need, access to fields and particular like sports related spaces, right? Making sure the school has what you need. If you're serving 600 kids, making sure you're in a and you want to be in a summer school, making sure you're in a building that is large enough to accommodate that. So I think we have such a variety of programs that operate out of our buildings. Athletics, enrichment, arts, STEM, STEAM, really anything you can think of. So I think our spaces are fairly flexible. So I think there's space for lots of different types of programming. It if you have unique needs depending on what you're offering, that's the piece where you would just want to confirm with a school that they actually have the space, whatever that unique space accommodation is that you might need. Question around custodial fees. Yes, there would be a separate custodial fee. Again, depending on the building that you're in. So another plug for submitting your building use agreement as early as possible is that you'll get that information back through DGS around, what is the cost going to look like for the summer. So you're not caught in a bind on, May 17th, trying to figure out, whether or not you want to move forward. Going to put our inbox information back up here. Again, if you want to opt out of the meals, this is the Food Nutrition Services inbox, food.dcps. Our inbox is dcps.partnerships@k12.dc.gov. And you're welcome to reach out, particularly if you're interested in co-location with a secondary summer school site. I know that is a little complicated to figure out, so we're happy to share whatever information we have or can gather to help inform your decision-making about a location. All right, well, if there are no other questions, I appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today. I see a couple school teams, central services teams, so I'm happy that everyone was able to hop on today. Like I said, we will be sending a copy of the presentation and the deck, and then all of this information is spelled out in much greater detail on our website, which is also linked in the deck. So we will make sure you have everything. And as always, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Right. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Abby. Quick question. One more quick question. This is going to be, you said, I couldn't hear you. You said this is going to be sent directly to us or on the DCPS way page? Deck.
We can do both. We can do
Okay.
both. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
Just one quick question.
Sure.
A lot of school applications, a lot of the summer program applications want you to have your approval of a school turned in when you turn in the application. Does this mean that the May 2nd time you'll be waived?
No, I would say, so we had this issue come up with a DPR grant where they needed approval from the school, and they were able to accept, I think, just the typical building use agreement. That's through DGS as an indication. So I think it'll depend a little bit on what the particular grant is, but in order to be in a DCPS building over the summer, you need a fully executed building use agreement. So even if you were to get the grant through another agency, we would still need that BUA. So I think I would just encourage you to start the BUA process as soon as possible. And if there are concerns around a specific grant requirement, you're welcome to reach out to us, and we can see, if it's with another agency, figure out if there's a way we can, work together so that that's not a barrier to your application.
Great, I appreciate it.
Sure. All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.